Hi everybody and welcome to the October webinar for Sky Enterprise. My name is Martin Lomax from the Sky Enterprise team, and I'm looking forward to taking you through an overview of Sky Enterprise for those of you who haven't seen it before, and for those of you who are familiar, looking forward to showing you some new stuff and some stuff that's coming soon. So here's the agenda. We're going to do the overview and update, and going to do a few slides but really dive into quite a lot of demonstration, and then we'll go into a few things that are coming soon. We'll specifically talk about a use case with the QFX, which is really exciting for those small data center environments. And at the end we will have time for questions, and you can start anytime you like, put those questions in on the chat box there, and after the presentation we will also stay around for 10 or so minutes to do some Q&A then. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Sky Enterprise, here's a few points about what the service is and what you can expect. So it's delivered as software as a service, and that's really important, that there's actually nothing to manage for the management platform, and you can just get on and get your Juniper devices hooked up to Sky Enterprise and manage them. And really, back to the first point there, no Juno skills or experience are required. You can get these devices online very simply, and then through a simple user interface you can get configuration, management and monitoring of those devices. Super simple to set up, really can get online in a trial in just a few minutes, and for even deployments, real large-scale deployments, there's no need for big teams of people, professional services and things like that. And one of the things that makes that quite a really simple task is zero-touch provisioning. So we have the ability to do a setup of a device fresh out of the box and connect it up to the cloud management system. We have an integration with Mist for the Mist Wi-Fi components, and they can be seen as a single pane of glass view with all of your Juniper devices and your Mist Wi-Fi APs. And in terms of support for Juniper devices, we support the full range of EX devices, SRX devices, VSRX devices, the QFX for your data center or your campus aggregation, and the NFX platforms. And we have multi-tenancy for those managed service provider environments, or environments where you have more than one group of devices that you want to control with different sets of people, so tenants. And we have role-based access, so admin, user and read-only. So I mentioned ZTP. Let's look at that in a little bit more detail now. So zero-touch provisioning is a really great way to get your Juniper devices online, and really is as simple as they phone home, and all you have to do is add the device name and the serial number to the Sky Enterprise portal, and then power on and connect the device in the branch office site, in the remote place that you're installing these devices, hook them up to the network, and they will call home to Juniper and register with the Sky Enterprise system. This really is great for speeding up the rollout of devices. It means you don't have to double unpack the device once at your office and then roll out to the remote sites, and it really can cut down on the time frame for those rollouts and the cost, the amount of man hours that you need to do that, and double shipping as well. Just ship it once to site and turn it on. So zero-touch provisioning has been around for a little while now on NFX and SRX, and it's really exciting that the EXs are just coming through the factory now with the new version of 18.2 on there, which will have the phone home in the factory default configuration. So we're really excited about that. And this is the new feature, the Juno CLI feature. Has actually been around for a little while for NFX devices, and has recently been enabled for the other Junos devices like SRX, EX, QFX. And it's a really great tool to help you do advanced troubleshooting of your devices via the command line. So if you're comfortable with the command line, You want to get in and do something where you're going to be running some troubleshooting commands, looking at logs, doing some advanced troubleshooting commands from Junos. It's a great way to do that. So to get access to this, first thing you need to do is enable two-factor authentication on your administrator account. It is only available to administrators, and you must have two-factor authentication on. So using something like Google Authenticator, Duo, and that will get you on to the CLI via the action menu from the devices list. So you just click on the little drop down and click Junos CLI from there. And the last feature I want to tell you about before we get into the demonstration is the new custom SD1 Hybrid WAN set of features that we have under the custom SD-WAN section. This is a grouping of all those tools that we've had in Sky Enterprise that relate to dealing with the SRX's configuration in an environment where you are connecting multiple WAN links and you're using things like application routing and performance monitoring to check where your applications are going to go, to determine the best path, and to get the configuration and the reporting here. So you've got those WAN graphs, you've got the application routing configuration, you've got those real-time performance monitoring, RPM in Junos that's called, and you can see all those there in one place. So I'm going to touch on some of these in the demonstration, so let's go over there now. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is log in. Here I've got my demo account, and I'm going to log in, and as we mentioned with the CLI, I need to put in my two-factor authentication. So grab my Google Authenticator app and put the code in, and I'm presented with the sites view. So this is my main view of all of my sites, and I can quickly look at the status. Here I am at my Sydney site, and can see if my devices are online. I could jump over and look at just the topology or just the devices for that one site, or I can go back and see the whole map. So let's have a look at all of our devices in our little example company here. I've got a few devices there, different SRX and EX devices, and some of them have sites, some of them have tags, and we're going to get a tag now, show you how to assign one of those, and we can search for these. Really useful in searching the dashboard and using them later on for a tool that we call bulk update. So there's my my quick search for that firewall there, and I'm going to set a tag now for the access switch. So maybe I want to group all of my switches together that perform the access function, and you can see that it pre-fills, or I can put a new one in, give it a firewall, a switch there, and now you can see it's assigned to that tag. Okay, while I'm here, let me show you this. This is the downloading the inventory, and it's going to download an Excel file, and it's going to allow me to see all of this information and more. It's going to show me the detailed information of all of the devices and their state, the serial numbers, all of the inventory information, and then I can capture that offline if I'm doing an audit or want all that information. Got all the backup and the last connection time, loads and loads of really good information there. Okay, so now let's talk about adding a device. So we have two ways of adding a device. We have the manual way and the zero touch provisioning way. So first of all, let's talk about the manual way. I'm just going to give it a name here. So we give it a name is all we need, and a type. We don't need to know about the IP addressing. We have these other options we'll talk about later. Click on Create Device, and this will give us the configlet. Now this is the Junos config that goes onto our device and tells it to call home to Sky Enterprise. And as that call home happens, we don't need to know any of the IP addressing. So here's the console I've got on one of my lab devices, and just commit that. Okay, so that's a unique configuration for this device, and just to talk about what it does, it actually uses a secure protocol called outbound SSH. So underneath it's the SSH protocol, and that makes two connections to our device connectors, so they're redundant. And if there is ever any issues like the link goes down, or some connection between that remote site and the internet, it will re-establish, and there's timers there, retry timers and timeouts and things like that. Okay, so we're just waiting for that to commit. Let me refresh the page. Yep, and there we go. It is now online, and we grab all the information about the device there. Okay, so the second way that we can add a device is using zero-touch provisioning. So say I had a new device. It was this time it was one of those switches. I just pick a template. We have those templates there, and really they can be customized, but at a base level, really all you need to do is add in the serial number and put a host name in. And if you're interested in that, we do have some videos on YouTube that go into that in a lot more detail, the whole process. Okay, so now let's have a look at some device functions. Here we have an SRX 300, and let's go and look at security policies. So we go out to the device and pull the device configuration, and this is going to give us the latest information from the device. It's going to show us all the policy there, and it's going to present it in a really nice and easy to consume way. All of our zones, all of our zone pairs here, so context of trust, untrust, and untrusted trust. Here we have a little warning that tells us the policy is an allow for everything and then a deny below, so it's a shadow policy. We can then go and add a new policy. Maybe we're going to add a new rule to let something into the network, and we can then select the right zone, so from outside to inside, and we'll pick a device that's in the address book. We've got our custom applications and our Juno built-in applications. So let's just make this FTP rule. We'll allow that, permit, and then put it at the top. So it's going to get allowed through. We'll put logging on, and we'll set that policy up. Now, as this is happening, Junos gets sent the configuration from Sky Enterprise. We do a commit confirmed. So if there is any issue in committing that configuration and we get cut off from the device, then just like you would do commit confirmed from the Juno CLI, we do the same thing here. You will see that the device would go back to its previous configuration and reconnect to Sky Enterprise. Here this configuration was successful, and just refreshing the data of this policy now, and there you go, where we can see that new policy is at the bottom there with all those attributes we set. So also while we're at policies, we did have the option of the new combined policy, or we've got the app firewall here as well if we want a separate policy. Let's have a look at security zones. This is where we might set up new zones, assign interfaces, put some of those host the services. We've got address books, and you would manage all that address book on going through here. So under NAT, we've got the three different types of NAT: source, destination, and static. Here we've got no NAT rules set up yet, but one of the great tools we have in the destination NAT is the NAT Easy Wizard. So first of all, you have the source address where it's coming from on the internet. Choose the direction, which IP address it's going to be hitting on the outside of your firewall, your ports, and then the stuff you're going to put on the inside, so the host it's going to hit. And we have some optional things there, and we automatically create the policies for you and set everything up for you. Let's go and have a look at security feeds. There are some other things there. I do encourage you to have a look at UTM and the other applications, but security feeds are really great. They're a predefined set of the Microsoft Office 365, so things like Skype there, AWS, and Azure and your own custom feeds as well, so you can put those in the settings section. That means you can have the firewall pull those down at regular intervals. It gets automatically done for you. You don't need to manage the address books. So let's have a look at a switch now, and we're going to go and look at some interfaces here, interfaces and VLAN section. Again, we pull the interfaces and VLANs from the device, so you get the configuration and the status of all these things, see what VLANs are assigned, or looking at the up-down connected status of the interfaces. And if we had an interface here that we wanted to update, then we could go to the edit section and select a new VLAN. Now for different models we have different options of those newer models with the advanced VLAN rewriting, and also things like PoE settings and things like that. For visibility, we have the Ethernet switch table. You can look at all the connected devices there, look at which interfaces they're on, and we also have LLDP and ARP. Let's have a look at LLDP. This is great to see where it's connected and see the neighbors, and we also use that in the topology, which I'll come back to later. So VLANs, we can see the VLANs that are defined and look at the interfaces overall, create new VLANs, create ranges, so we can create a new range with specific from and to, or a range of specific members, and then just select the VLAN that you want for that range. Great for all your access ports or your Wi-Fi APs, things like that. Spanning tree section we have here is great for seeing the status and configuring the high level parameters and the per interface spanning tree parameters. Okay, so I mentioned topology. Let's have a quick look at topology. So here's our network, all the connected devices, and you can then see how things are connected, what types of links they are, and switch and firewall. You can see all the interfaces, and you can even jump through and see a bandwidth graph of that interface. You can filter this on site, so we can just see the ones that are connected in our site, or we could just view the whole network. If it's under 250 devices, you can see the whole network. Okay, so back over on our devices section, and we've got our Juno CLI I mentioned. We have two-factor, so we're allowed to action that and get on. And as you can see, it is a fully featured Juno CLI, and we're able to go into configuration mode or see the configuration in set commands, and maybe we want to do some show security flow session. We grab some data out of our firewall flows and be able to do some advanced troubleshooting. Okay, so next we're going to go to the configuration section and look at some templates. So first, zero touch. We have these examples here, and these are customizable, and they have all the variables baked into them in these double curly braces. You can see we have them there for different things like host names or the VLANs and interfaces, and for LAN segments you might want to do things like your IP and your mask there. So really easy to set those up when you do have a template. Just do your show configuration pipe display XML, or customize one of our templates. And over here on GitHub we have a growing number of templates that we're adding in there for zero touch, and also for bulk update that I'll come back to. Okay, so talking of bulk update, let's have a look at the bulk update templates. And here we'll see a very similar kind of pattern. This time they're in either set commands or in Junos hierarchy config, stanza config, and the same thing applies. You can have your variables in the curly brackets there, and you can define your new template either with set or Juno config, and then that can be made ready for use in your bulk updates. So here, to create a new bulk update, we just click New Update, and here we have some options. We can schedule things. Here we've got the date picker and time picker, or we can select the templates if we wanted to do an advanced one with all the variables. I'm just going to do a basic one and put this command in. Now I'm going to select, I could do devices, or if I do that new tag that I created for my access switches, it will tell me it's going to send this to all access switches, or in my case just this one switch. And there we go, it's sent off the job, and it's going to do the configuration change and then report back. So a great tool if you're doing this across just one device for a config change, or hundreds of devices. You could send this out to all those devices at once. And there's our finished report. Yep, successful, and gives you the full log. If there were any issues, you could go in and look and see what was wrong and troubleshoot it from there. Okay, so let's go to the settings section now, and we can have a look at some things interesting things to talk about. Multi-tenancy is one that's already turned on and is there locked for us because we have tenants enabled. And you just go to the tenants tab, you see we already have one created. Let's go ahead and create a new one, and we can just give it a name here, tenant XX. And we will then go to the tenant once we click that. It will drop us in as if we were logged in as a user at this tenant level, and you can see the hierarchy there. So when we go to our devices tab inside this tenant, there are no devices yet. So let's add one. Just quickly add a quick new firewall here, and then we'll show you the configurelet. That has all the information to get it online. It's very specific to this tenant, and it separates everything. So users inside tenant XX couldn't see any devices or other information that was in tenant X, for example. Okay, so now back up at our main level, we're going to go to settings again. Here you see I mentioned the missed Wi-Fi connection. We already have our connection set up, and you can see the API key is already set there, and there's an option to remove it. Let's go to our new tenant and say, for example, we wanted to hook that up so that it could talk to its connection over on the Mist side. You just put in your Mist username and password, click save, and it will make the connection for you. Now let's have a look at what this looks like. We have our Mist Wi-Fi APs tab, and you can see we've got one AP there and a couple of clients on it. You just see all the information, and oh, look, the radio health is not good on that one, or see the data going throughput of those devices. So great first line of visibility. And we also have here the view AP in the Mist portal, so you can have the context sensitive cross launch and go and look into the Mist portal where you're going to get configuration and that advanced troubleshooting. So on the Sky Enterprise side, great to see everything in one place for your switches and your firewalls and everything in a branch site with your Wi-Fi. Okay, now I mentioned custom SD1. Let's have a look at some of the features there. Well, we have our per interface app reporting. So great to be able to see of your device which apps and what quantity of data is going across each interface, and give you visibility of that. We allow you to select which are your WAN interfaces. Here are the default ones that we display. You've got system graphs, so you can see the health and status of the device there. We've got app usage reports. These are the application and network risk reports. You've got predefined ones there you can run. And we have real-time performance monitoring, so those RPM polls and tests that they're doing, and we've got some checks that are going out there, and you can see the round trip times and things. These can be used for the decision making of which applications go across which links. Now, one thing we do have is a new feature that's coming out in the next couple of weeks is graphing of that data. So here's a quick snapshot from our testing system with the RPM probe graph there. Okay, so back over here in our application routes section, we have a list of our routing. We can reorder them for preferences, and we can create new rules. This is great. You can just come in, select the applications, give it a name, and then say social, create the rule based on the routing instance for the app routing that you want. Search for your apps or app groups as well. So you can go in and say, well, social or streaming media, and route those over an interface. Okay, so that's the end of the demo. Let's go back to slides. So I wanted to talk about a new feature, which is our infrastructure-centric hybrid WAN solution. And in Sky Enterprise, it's going to be called Simple SD-WAN. And this is going to be an evolution of where we've been going with building up the capabilities with the zero touch and the app routing, and we've brought those together in custom SD-WAN. This is going to really simplify the whole process of getting devices online, getting them connected, and giving them their connections to the head office site and managing them ongoing. So we're going to have this nice wizard-based solution, which is going to get those devices and sites defined. You're going to put in all the things like your LAN details, VPN connection, those app routing configurations. You're not going to need to understand all of the complexity of Junos routing instances that need to be there behind the scenes, and we're just going to take that complexity away with this wizard. The second thing that's going to happen there after that initial workflow and the zero touch provisioning is the orchestration of those tasks you need to do to get the device ready and working. So that's the licenses and the app ID databases, getting all that configuration in place, and making sure that the connection to the head office site is up and the hub is up and running with the VPNs. And we're going to overlay those things onto the existing monitoring system, so onto the Google Maps sites view. You're going to get status of your links, and of course those per interface application performance reports. So one other really cool thing we're working on at the moment and expect to have out later on in the year or early into 2020 is the ability to deliver Junos upgrades directly hosted from Sky Enterprise. So on the left today you'll see that there is an option in Sky Enterprise for software to be delivered, software distribution we call it, and that assumes that you're hosting those images on some kind of file server locally. So that's great, you can do that today, but we're going to make it really simple, so you can just pick the version that you want for your device, say the recommended release, and click update, and we will copy that image down to the device through our API connection. Means you don't have to worry about pre-downloading the image. So really looking forward to that. And one interesting thing that's really been quite good to see is the use of QFXs in the Sky Enterprise platform. Seeing more and more people bringing on QFX 5Ks, QFX 10Ks and managing them in the system, and those are now marked as fully supported in the Juniper documentation, and they're available as the Group C licenses. And what we've got here is an example of what some people would put in place in a small data center for a spine and leaf aggregation and top of rack switching infrastructure, and how we might be able to manage that through Sky Enterprise. So we add the devices to Sky Enterprise just like any other device. We put the configurer on and then we can manage them. Now, the really interesting thing there is those types of tasks that we're going to be doing to these devices. We're going to be configuring those spines together. We're going to be connecting new devices into the fabric, and we're going to be doing tasks like adding new VLANs across the fabric. And these things are going to vary depending on your design and your setup. And as it is a multi-device scenario, the bulk update tool really does give us some really smart things we can do with that. And actually on GitHub, I mentioned the repository there. We have some predefined templates that you can get and customize so that you can work a scenario that matches your environment and get a process in place to do those day-to-day tasks. So I think the combination of those templates and the power of Junos and the simplicity of the Sky Enterprise system is really going to make it nice and simple to manage that small data center environment. I just wanted to mention a case study that's recently been published to the Juniper website, and this is a great company called Auxium from Michigan. Really pleased to have Matt and his team using the Sky Enterprise product. They're a real great showcase for a lot of what we've talked about today in terms of the multi-tenancy and a lot of the features they use and their customers use to be able to simplify the day-to-day operations of managing those Juniper devices. And with a small team there managing a lot of devices, really is a great tool to cut down on the friction for managing those devices. Now, these are remote devices that are in things like legal offices, manufacturing and retail, and really does help to make sure that your team can focus on the most important things about those high value tasks that you're doing with your customers. So I encourage you to check out that case study on the Juniper website. Have a read. Okay, and just wanted to mention here, we will actually be at the Nextwork event in Las Vegas in a few weeks and running a demonstration booth there. So love to see anybody who might be attending. Come by and say hello to the team and come and chat about these features and your use case. So if you don't already have an account, then we can get you hooked up. I know there will be some Juniper people on the team here on the call. So if you do have a requirement for an account, then there's an email for you there. For customers and partners, you can go to juniper.net/try and click on Sky Enterprise there to fill out the form, and we'll get your account created. Thank you very much for your questions, and really appreciate your time today, and look forward to giving you an update on the next webinar. Thank you very much. Bye.